In episode number 235, we cover the game you didn't know you needed, Disney's Afternoon Collection.
And the much-demanded sequel to the very first film from the DC Extended Universe, Man of Steel, gets its director.
Our comic book highlight of the week is Man-Thing #1 from Marvel, written by R.L. Stine, who just writes creepy things.
We've also got a movie review for Kong Skull Island, another connection to the MonsterVerse, coming forward with Godzilla, Mothra, and more.
All of this and much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, popcorn, and more. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
For those of you joining us for the very first time, the way we start out our show is first we talk about some news that cover any of the things that I just mentioned, and we follow up with a comic book highlight of the week. And special this week, we have our spoiler-filled Kong Skull Island review.
Per usual, we will leave the movie review at the very end of the podcast. That way, anyone that hasn't seen it or does not want it spoiled for them, they can tune out and not miss out on the rest of the news. I know we have a bunch of first-time listeners, or at least second-time listeners, coming over from the Alternate Comics interview that we did not really last week, and just a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Everyone got a bonus podcast and a bonus episode for the week, and that's all thanks to the Brokettes. They actually answered the call from Peter Samedi when he tweeted out, "What are your favorite comic book podcasts out there?" And a handful of you went out there and said, "At Reasons I'm Broke, we love the Reasons I'm Broke podcast." And because of that, Peter reached out to us and said, "Hey, would you like to host an interview for Alternate Comics?" And we said, hell yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Why not? So a bonus episode to all of you. To anyone that was worried, like, is that going to be this week's episode? You get 2 this week. So the Patreon backers, don't worry. You're still going to get your shout out this week. And this one is set to release as normal on Sunday or early for our Patreon backers.
But before we jump into anything, Daniel, do you have any exciting news from your week that you would like to share with Brokettes?
Cut down some small, tiny trees with a little saw. Some asshole trees that are growing in between the fence, like underneath the fence more than anything, and just growing up into the fence like, fuck you, asshole, I'm going to grow right in between here and cause you fucking trouble with the neighbors, and I'm going to rip down your fence. I'm like, God damn it, fucking tree. And one of them is on the neighbor's side, so I'm just cutting down every time it grows in between. And then the other one is, I looked at it, it is literally underneath the fence, so it's like, fuck, man, it just picked a side as it was growing and ripped on through. So that's what I was working on this week, is just trimming entire trees that are fucking relentless. But at the same time, I'm growing the much more preferred trees in the backyard. Not one avocado tree, which we talked about in the past. A second one sprouted, and the third one, I just noticed a little stalk. But these other 2 are from actual Mexican avocados, whereas the other one looks to be a Florida avocado. They do look different. Like the Mexican ones, like they should, they're a little darker in the leaves. Like but they're going to grow just fine here. I mean, the climate is very similar, maybe more dry in Mexico for sure, not as humid as Florida, but that they're going to do well, hopefully, and I'll have 3 whole trees of avocados. In 5 years, I'll have healthy fruit.
You're going to have to eat like an avocado per meal when fruit starts dropping.
And by the way, anyone that shares those food recipes online on Facebook, like, tasty, if you are at all sharing one of those recipes where they're cooking or they're baking an avocado, you are a bigger fool than I thought, because you don't do that shit to avocados. You eat them raw as is. You peel those bitches. You don't put salt on it. If you want to put lime on it, that's fine, because that'll preserve the fruit if you want to make like guacamole out of it. But if you're going to put salt on it, just like you do with tomatoes, I guess some people do. That's fucking weird.
I salt tomatoes.
It's delicious as it is. It is delicious. It is good. And to anyone that says, no, it's a little too plain, have it a few times. Like, condition your brain to adapt to a lesser taste, and those more subtle flavors will actually become stronger as you adapt and as you eat more of them. So I've always eaten avocados exactly like that, so I'm always like, oh man, this is really good. Anytime you add salt, I'm like, no, stop, you're ruining it. I don't want to taste the salt, I want to taste the fruit.
Because I eat it this way. Everyone who doesn't is wrong.
Correct. And this is the healthy option, the healthy alternative. And it's not the reason I'm doing it, I want to taste the avocado. I don't want to taste salt.
Well, you enjoy that. I do not like avocados at all. I will sometimes eat it mushed up on a sandwich with mozzarella cheese. That's it. Otherwise, no. I do put salt on my tomatoes. I put salt on watermelon.
That is fucking weird.
I put salt on cantaloupe.
Nope.
I put salt on green apples. Mmm.
Fucking weird.
Delicious.
All of this is weird.
Ah, so good. But it's the way that I eat it, so the way you eat them is clearly wrong.
Our child, and you're going to hear this, Brokettes, so there's going to be debates on the podcast. Your little child right in your belly right now, your uterus, whatever, that is, I'm going to teach it well. I'm going to raise it to I will got this as they are, as God intended. I'm not even a believer, but I'm like, it's not how we use that line. Just to prove my point.
That's fine because it's half your child too. But I'm still going to teach you to eat things my way. Like white rice with butter and salt.
Or how about brown rice? Just brown rice. Brown rice in a bowl.
Or how about pasta with butter and garlic salt?
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
We're going to have a debate here.
Come on. You do realize that's all I'm eating right now because I'm so sick. So our child will hate those things.
Oh, keep doing it then. As long as it doesn't affect the health.
Ruin your body. Just don't mess up our kid.
What about you? Do you have any stories from this week?
Other than fighting exhaustion. Fun fact, pregnant women can only stay awake for 8 hours a day. That is it. That is all the time you are allowed to stay awake. And then you are dead, apparently. But I did get into an argument with a coworker this week.
Okay.
It was a very valid argument. Because we did a little survey at work, and because it was a get to know each other better, da-da-da-da. And one of the things was we had to put our favorite Disney character. We live in Florida, that's all Florida is about, of course. And so one person put the Hulk as their favorite Disney character. And I bust in there, that's not a Disney character. Yes, it is. Disney owns them. I'm like, yeah, but Disney didn't create them. So we got in this huge argument. And then I had to go to somebody else to settle the argument. And they're like, well, it's a Disney-owned character. And that's where the debate ended.
I'm going to side with them because, yeah, by origin, they're not Disney characters. They're not from the Walt Disney Company. They just purchased it. So anything that they buy, I mean, you can say it's a Disney character. If you mean it by Disney-owned, yeah, it's owned by the company. It is technically a Disney character. Now, that list should have been a Disney creation or maybe... something, I don't know, maybe not Disney character, not including Marvel.
No, but it's not a Disney character. Just like, are Woody and Buzz Disney characters?
That's a great question. Well, they bought out Pixar, so by your logic, they're not.
They're Pixar characters.
Right, but if they're
doing... from a Pixar movie.
But Disney produced it, they brought it out. I mean, if you go back back far enough, if someone created something under the Disney brand, does that classify it as a Disney character? Or does it specifically have to be an own independent company that gets paid by Disney for it to not qualify it?
When I think of Disney character, I think of the princesses, I think of Winnie the Pooh, I think of your classic Disney Pictures movies, whatever it was called. Those are Disney characters in my mind. The Hulk is not. Anything Marvel is not a Disney character. Is there a Marvel princess somewhere?
There's several princesses in the Marvel universe.
Okay, so if you ask me to
even now...
If you ask me to pick out my favorite Disney princess, could I pick one of those?
You can.
No, they're not Disney princesses.
What about Princess Leia? Is she a Disney princess?
No, she's not a Disney princess.
I think they officially said that she's an official Disney princess.
Somebody's out of their mind. Out of their mind. I don't care that Star Wars is in the parks. I don't care that Marvel is in the parks. I don't care. Is Pandora a Disney character?
It is now. They own it.
Okay, well, Avatar is not
What
Disney.
Is your criteria then? Where do you separate and where do you draw the line? Aside from these are from the animated movies I grew up with. Where do you actually draw the line? What are the criteria to actually be a Disney character?
It had to be created under Disney Studios.
What is Disney Studios? Because back then there was no Disney Studios.
Well, who was the company that created all the old movies?
I think it was just Walt Disney Pictures.
Okay, so it had to be created by Walt Disney Pictures.
So then if we were to pop in a copy of Toy Story, and Walt Disney Pictures pops up right before the Pixar logo, which I think it does.
Then that could be a Disney character. That's
so then
fine.
Buzz and Woody are Disney characters.
That's fine.
Okay.
But nowhere in the beginning of a Marvel movie does Walt Disney Pictures pop up with a little castle and the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and Tinkerbell and shit.
That's true, but at the very end of the credits, you see a Walt Disney Pictures production.
I've never seen that, so.
They purposely omitted having the Disney castle because they don't want to mess with the brand, and in people's minds, oh, wait, this is Disney,
because
they
don't want to make them Disney characters.
No, it's a marketing. It's a money thing.
Woo! All right, guys, let us know what you think on Twitter at ReasonsImBroke, at Kelli. Do hashtag Disney yes or hashtag Disney no. And y'all better pick hashtag Disney no.
Before we jump into the news for the week, we've got a couple of hashtag games.
Hashtag games that you did not tell me about.
Nope. Let's cue the theme song.
I'm very upset you didn't tell me about these. I did not have time to prepare.
That's all right. We still have a couple of responses here. And the first hashtag game goes hashtag my job in the afterlife. My response was processing endless issues of X-Force #1.
I don't know what that is.
It is the perfect symbol of the eventual downfall of comics. Back when there were several covers and thousands upon thousands of printings of the same issue, everyone buying 2 copies of #1, one to read and one to store, because every single #1 was going to be $1 million comic in the future. Everyone was going to pay through their college with their comic book collection, and everyone had the same idea, but no one thought, wait a second, there are thousands of these out there. If everyone has a copy, it's not really worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
Rick from Nerd Up Media actually said that he finds any copy of The Death of Superman and he burns it. That way his copy is worth that much more. Like little by little, eventually if he finds and tracks down all copies of Death of Superman, then he could sell it for $50 or $100.
So after he spent $300 buying all the copies, then he could sell it.
Some might be in the 50-cent bin.
There's
right. So many of those fucking
all
things.
Right. So does this hashtag, does it have to be something that I hate and that's what I'm doing in the afterlife?
That's the way I interpreted it. But,
okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever. It's not a Disney character. It's not restricted to a certain criteria.
It is, because I said it is.
It doesn't have to be. It can be a negative thing. It could be a positive thing. It's completely up to you. So for me, I said endless issues of X-Force #1 is because every comic shop, if you're not immediately 50-centing those out, they're in your overstock, and you have a whole long box of those fucking things, all polybagged with the card on it. The only copy of that that's actually worth something is the one that had the Deadpool card in it, because that was one of the earlier appearances of the character itself. So they can, you can throw that up on the wall and, sell it for, I don't know, $20-25. I don't remember the last time we actually had the Deadpool card of it, but we were thrilled. We're like, oh my God, if someone actually wants a certain version of this, that's fine. If we can make some money off of this, better. Even better. So, and then on top of that, some of them were open. And so you have unopened copies, you have open copies. Mm-hmm. Open copies being slightly less worth. I mean, because there's so many out there.
Right.
Have you come up with any kind of hashtag game for this one? Any response?
I guess my job in the afterlife, if we're going for a negative, would be always making food that people are returning and dissatisfied with. Because I work in the food industry, and I hate it when people come back, I ate most of this, but I didn't like it.
That would be a bad one.
I'm always like, but you ate half of it. Then you have to go, well, can I get you another one? I just want my money back. But you ate half of it.
Yeah, I'm full now from that crappy food you sold me that I continued to shove into my face.
Yes. If it had to be something positive, ruling the underworld so that Lucifer could be in love with Deckard.
There you go, tied it in to the Fox television show.
Love that show. Can't wait for it to come back.
We did get a response on this one from @SupersideUp on Twitter. They are also a comic book superhero, mainly covers the TV shows on the superhero side, and it is a podcast that you should follow and listen since they are friends of The Reasons I'm Broke.
They said, quote, haunting Rob Liefeld until he learns proper anatomy, starting with hands, feet, guns. You said afterlife, not hell.
So there you go.
Little devil face, little ghost face, and hashtag. Don't forget the emojis.
End quote, you mean?
End quote.
Yeah, there were emojis in there. And Rob Liefeld still hasn't learned how to draw those things.
He will never learn.
He said afterlife, not hell, but I think it would be hell because Rob Liefeld, as you mentioned, would never learn these things. You would forever be trying to teach. I mean, the upside is you would theoretically get better at drawing those things, and you would get better at drawing in general than Rob Liefeld at that point, but he will not ever, he still hides those things. He still hides the feet whenever he can behind something or off the page, off the covers. His artwork looks identical to when he first debuted, but he shouldn't care. I wouldn't care if I were being insulted like that. You know why? Because he co-created, if not just generally created Deadpool, Cable, and he is making all of the money right now.
Oh, yeah. Good for him. Pays to be shitty sometimes.
The other hashtag game we had, hashtag if I had a pet dragon, and I said it could only be a hashtag Dragonite. That's a true dragon.
All right. Hashtag if I had a pet dragon, I would make all the wishes. Hashtag Shinran.
That's perfect. That is awesome. See, and I said that because like a month ago I put out Charizard is not a dragon.
No, he's not. I got an argument about that with somebody. I think I talked about it on the podcast when we got an argument at work about that too.
And something that Josh from the Arcade Archives Network said, yeah, it's not a dragon. It only has wings, it breathes fire, and it's a flying lizard. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Not a dragon.
Do you see dragon type anywhere on there?
Nope, that's fire flying.
I see fire flying.
Fire flying.
But we do have another one from @SuperSideUp who said, quote, hashtag if I had a pet dragon, it'd definitely be dragging my ass all over town. End quote. Very clever. I approve.
Don't forget, listeners, if you want to participate in the hashtag games, don't forget to follow us on Twitter @ReasonsImBroke, Facebook.com/TheReasonsImBroke. If you've got a clever answer, throw it up there and we may include it right here on the show.
And with that, guys, we can move into our news for the week. We're going to start out with some things that are Disney characters. Thank you. Capcom has partnered with Disney to give us a collection of 6 NES-era games, including Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, DuckTales 2, and Tailspin.
I just came up with a question for you, actually. We'll talk about this collection in a bit. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Disney character or not Disney character?
Not Disney character. He was not created under the Disney Pictures brand. He was sold off to Universal just because Disney purchased him back.
Fuck me then, because that's exactly what I was going to tell you.
I'm not dumb. I didn't marry you because I was dumb and you could trick me. Like, I learned the secrets beforehand.
All right, couldn't trick her, Broke. It's a tough one. Okay, so back to the news. 6 NES games. This will contain, this whole collection, it will have a boss rush mode, a rewind feature to help players unused to challenging platforms, and it gives them a chance to survive. And it will also be remastered for full 1080p support with various filters available to tweak for that retro feel. Some players like the crisp 1080p graphics. They want to see the old stuff as clean as possible. And some want it to look like their old televisions where they have that bent screen, that bent glass screen, exactly what I grew up with. And there's a filter for that. And I know a lot of players have said it's not the same, though, as the original. And they want to have, like, the original television. It's like, well, of course. It's never going to be exactly the same. Mm-hmm. But it's nice for them to go that extra step and try to emulate something similar to it.
For those of you who aren't familiar with these games, the only one we've played is DuckTales.
Yes.
I believe, because Daniel's a huge fan of Uncle Scrooge, who
Love
is
Uncle Scrooge.
A Disney character. Thank you.
You're going to keep on this.
Yes, I am. I'm very passionate about this. And that was a hard game. I watched you play it, and that didn't look easy.
It's a tough one. I've played the remastered version where they have all the brand new drawings and they have the original voice actor. And I believe that might have been one of the last times he actually voiced Scrooge before he passed away. The same went for, the name escapes me, the witch, the evil duck witch. That was also one of the last, she was like 90-something when they got her for that one. And I believe that was her last time voicing the character too, so good on them. But this is actually the class, all of these are the classic versions. Even though it says remastered for 1080p, all that means is that you see the older graphics in crisp full HD. So instead of the remastering that we saw with DuckTales, I feel like there should be a different word for each one, but the other one had a full overhaul and a full remake. Maybe that's the right word, remake for that older DuckTales one. But this is just exactly as you remember them, but they're made for your current devices, for your current television.
So this Disney Afternoon Collection will be releasing on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on April 18th for just $19.99. That is the perfect price point. 6 games for $20.
And someone even pointed out that DuckTales 2, if you try to buy that on eBay, the original cartridge, it is about $200.
Ooh.
So someone said, I can get DuckTales 2 and finally play it and not pay $200 for $20 and then get 5 other solid games. Yeah, I'm in. I'm definitely going to get that.
I remember watching all of these shows as a kid, too. I loved them. I can still sing all the theme songs, except maybe Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Oh, no, I remember that one, too. Do you remember the theme song?
I remember.
Chip and Dale.
Rescue Rangers.
Chip and... Can I tell you, I just learned which one was Chip and which one was Dale the other day.
I know how you can tell. Do you know the trick?
I know a trick now.
Okay, so the one with the nose that's black, it looks like a chocolate chip, and that's why he's named Chip. And the other one with the red nose, just fucking Dale. Like, I don't know what the trick is for that, but chocolate chip is what you gotta remember.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I just learned that the other day, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll forget it soon. It's fine.
Another comment I saw was, where is Goof Troop? Are they not going to include that game in this? And another one said, that game fucking sucked. They're not going to put that in there.
No.
And I really don't know how many of these maybe aren't as good as people remember. It is obviously a nostalgia fest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just for DuckTales 2 and, of course, DuckTales, that it's going to be worth that $20 price. And I'm probably going to jump in there. Being that I'm now 28, I'm going to make good use of that rewind feature because I'm not as good at video games as I used to be. I don't know how Andromeda is going to be for me, the new Mass Effect game. Because I played Mass Effect 3. I'm sorry, Ass Effect, as you might recognize it.
Thank you.
Like 5-6 years ago was the last time I played it?
I don't remember. It was last time that we weren't a couple, I guess. So, because you left me for that game.
And it feels like as you get older, you age faster. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, you lose things quicker. You lose memories a lot quicker. So that also applies to video games.
Your priorities just shift. I wouldn't say, like, we're decrepit already, but but priorities shift. Like, I don't remember where I was in Pokemon last time I put it down, but I remember the email I got to send out for work. Like, your priorities just change. And we're old and decrepit, so.
Well, good thing we run a video game podcast as well. So,
there you go.
All we have to do is give you news. So on to the comic book side of things. Following suit with DC Comics, Marvel will also be advertising in movie theaters throughout the U.S.
Now they're just copying.
Yeah, if you were a Marvel fan, that's what you'd be saying right now if DC were doing the opposite.
Of course. So we have a press release that says, quote, beginning this weekend, keep your eyes peeled for a special pre-trailer advertisements before some of 2017's biggest releases, including ads promoting Marvel's highly anticipated Secret Empire event ahead of select screenings of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Then, Marvel Comics come to the small screen with dedicated TV advertising and promotions, to be featured on ABC and other broadcast networks nationwide. Fans can look forward to dedicated spots, on-air interviews, and more devoted towards Marvel's biggest comic book launches this spring. Secret Empire and Marvel's upcoming slate of X-Men titles, and more. End quote.
That's Disney putting out their giant networking dick. Like, here you go, Marvel. You can play with this all you want. Play us on ABC. Play us on... What was the other? I don't know what else fucking Disney owns. ESPN. Play us on all these things.
They own a lot of things.
Put all of those Marvel things on all of this. Like, oh, they got the movie theater promotions? That's cool. We've got all these channels as well.
Are there ABC original movies?
That I'm not sure about. I think there's... Yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't like Home Alone ABC or something?
They've played it on there, but Home Alone came out on in theaters.
Because then I'm wondering, would then by everybody else's logic, ABC original movie characters also be Disney characters?
What about like a news station that debuts a certain person? Although they're not really characters, right?
No, they're people.
Hosts.
They're hosts. But like the Disney Channel original movies, all those people are Disney characters.
Okay, here's a perfect one. Doug. The second season of Doug came out on the Disney Channel after Disney bought it up.
Okay, but where did it originate?
Nickelodeon.
Then it's a Nickelodeon character.
Right, but that's one you can use to them, like...
Yes.
If Hulk is a character, then so should Doug be. Like, find the weirdest one. The one that you know they will say no to. And see, this is how you troll. This is like, I should have been a fucking lawyer. Damn it. I should have been a lawyer. That's what you do. That's what I do on Facebook all day, too, is I find these weird... I don't know if they're loopholes. I don't know what you call them.
So then let me ask you this. Is Jack Skellington a Disney character?
According to them, yes. And I guess it would be. It's under Touchstone, but it's also, which is a Disney company anyway, so it might as well be the fucking castle.
They just didn't want anybody to know about it, so they put rocks instead.
Well, just in case, yeah. I think the Blu-ray release of Nightmare Before Christmas does actually have the giant castle.
It's a Tim Burton character. It's not Disney. Boom!
Well, he created them, but not Okay, so Bolt, is that a Disney character? No, Joe Schmo created it, not Walt Disney himself.
Fine.
So you can't use that logic.
Damn it. I just want to win.
You've already won, trust me. You got the Oswald thing.
All right. Thank you.
I do like, I mean, it's all PR talk here, but the highly anticipated Secret Empire, it's not highly anticipated.
They kept it a great secret because I don't know what it is.
It's Marvel's next event. Oh. And it's that readership, they're all saying it now. Why do we keep getting events? Like I hear from readers as well, like, okay, another event from Marvel. There's not going to be any kind of buffer zone between these, and there never is. They just go event after event after event, and that makes the events less valuable. It makes them less impactful. And on top of that, sometimes they'll announce the following event before even this one clears up. So in this example, we talked about it before, Generations. That's going to be after Secret Empire. So people are like, okay, why do I care about Secret Empire now?
Right, because you're just going to do something different. Oh, boy.
But the ads will focus on bringing audiences to local comic retailers. So in spite of how we may feel about Marvel's over-eventing of comics, they're at least going to promote local comic book shops.
All right. Thanks, Marvel. I guess.
I'm all for it. I'm cool with it. Before they did the Marvel comic shop locator, we talked about that last week, and awesome. Any ways so that new readers can find a local comic book shop and maybe pick up more Marvel books or even indie books or DC books, whatever they might be interested in.
So moving from the big screen to the little screen, Netflix is doing some bitch-ass things again.
Yes, they are.
Some badass, awesome fucking things. So Netflix is partnering up with Toho and Polygon Pictures to stream an original animated Godzilla film for release later this year. Everybody ready for it? Is that my Godzilla noise? I don't even remember what it was.
No, that's not. It changes every time.
What was my Godzilla noise?
I can't imitate your voice in any way.
Yeah.
So this would make it the first time Godzilla has appeared in Japanese anime, not counting the tie-in feature to Shin Godzilla.
What happened to the Godzilla TV show?
That's not anime.
But I loved it. Do you remember the theme song?
I don't remember the theme song,
Up
and I don't want
to. From the
to.
depths, 30 stories high,
oh,
breathing fire. I used to get in a fight with my dad about that, right? Because it says 30 stories high. He stands in the sky, and my dad always sang it 30 stories high, as big as the sky. And I'd be like, Dad, how can he be 30 stories and as big as the sky? Doesn't work that way.
They're exaggerating. That's all it is.
Godzilla! And then there was Godzuki. You didn't like Godzuki?
Fuck Godzuki.
Poor Godzuki. So there is no word yet how or if this will tie into either of the current live-action Godzilla franchises.
Godzuki was Jar Jar Binks before Jar Jar.
No, Jar Jar Binks is a piece of shit. Godzuki was adorable. No, Godzuki was adorable.
There's nothing adorable
lovable.
About.
They were like all those kids that helped him. They were like, what are they called? The Captain Planet Rangers?
Sure.
But for Godzilla.
How did Godzuki even relate to... Was it his kid?
It was something, like his cousin or something. I don't even remember.
What a shitty family tree there. Like, Godzilla's probably the best part of that.
Godzuki was learning. He could only blow smoke rings, like, poof.
No, you're thinking of his kid.
Oh, what did Godzuki do?
Nothing. Didn't do shit.
Poor Godzuki alone. It wasn't for you. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't for me. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate everyone that likes Godzuki, but, I just don't like him. Is that more political? Is that going to win over more fans?
Yes.
Hopefully we don't lose the Godzuki viewership or listenership out there.
I want one person to write on your Twitter like, yeah, I fucking love Godzuki.
Unsubscribed.
Aw, poor Godzuki. Godzuki didn't even do anything to you. You're just picking. You're being a bully.
You could have ended it with did not do anything.
You're being...
Right there. I agree.
You're being a Godzuki bully.
That's fine. I'll be a Godzuki bully.
What is our child going to think? I'm going to tell our child that
he's
you're
going to think Godzuki's a bitch, too. He's not going to like Godzuki. Fuck Godzuki. Even his name is perfect for him. It's the shitty fucking name for a shitty fucking character. But
you're very passionate about Godzuki. He didn't even do anything to you.
No, personally to me, he ruined that cartoon because I said, fuck this TV show. So did those kids. It should have just focused on Godzilla. No word yet on... I know they needed to sell toys, so they couldn't do that. No word yet on how or if this will tie into either of the current live-action Godzilla franchises.
I said that before we
All right, well, I just got so upset about Godzuki that...
don't even listen to me anymore.
Do you actually think this should tie into the movies, or do you think it should be its own individual property?
I think it should be its own individual thing. You don't want people getting confused because cartoon Godzilla doesn't look like movie Godzilla. Or, oh, but I thought this happened in the movie. Why is this happening in this thing? Nah, just make it different. People will still watch it either way.
I definitely will. And if you put it on Netflix, everyone will.
What if they put Godzuki in it? Would you watch it?
I would watch it to see if... they could only go up from what they did, so it would obviously be an improvement.
You know what went down from that original show? When they made the, 90s Godzilla cartoon.
Oh, the Matthew Broderick one?
Yes. They turned that into a cartoon, shit. You remember?
That was on Netflix for a little while there.
That was real shitty, too. I remember that one being shittier than Godzukizilla.
That follows one of Godzilla's kids, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because at the end of the first one, there's the hatching of all of them.
All the eggs, yeah.
I guess the story is one of them makes it out or survives and becomes the next Godzilla, but he's a good guy in that, right? In that cartoon?
I think so. I think he went around saving people. I think he was Batman-esque, where all the military's we need to kill him, and then they're no, let's let him save us, and then he saves, and then every episode the military wants to kill him, and then every episode somebody's no, he's here to help.
We'll get you next time, Godzilla. Let him go for now. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's how it went. I don't know. That was a long time ago.
So here's some awesome news from the DC Extended Universe, Kelly. I love this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Collider, X-Men First Class director Matthew Vaughn is in talks with Warner Brothers to direct Man of Steel fucking 2.
Ugh, this is amazing news.
Motherfucking Matthew Vaughn directing the best of the X-Men films. Yes, including Logan. The best of the X-Men films, First Class, onto another comic book. He did Kingsman as well, which everyone really enjoyed. We didn't see it. I never
saw that.
But everyone loved it. And I'm just I don't care. First Class, we're going to have the director from First Class doing a Superman film. All in. Can't wait. This has a very fucking strong chance of topping Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. So Vaughn was initially in talks to direct Thor: The Dark World, but left over, quote, creative differences, end quote.
That's always the fallback.
Always a fallback. Or Superman offered him more money.
Well, this was before all of that.
Oh, okay.
He had also pitched a Superman movie idea along with Mark Millar back in 2010 before the studio went with Nolan and Goyer's Man of Steel pitch.
Well, now he can get his movie.
Possibly. They interviewed him about it recently, and he said, well, that was more or less just a very skeletal story idea, nothing more. So he kind of downplayed it a lot. I don't know if that's so that people don't dig up what that plot or that pitch might have been, or if it literally is well, that won't work based on what happened in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Justice League and possibly in Aquaman. So, yeah, I think they're going to depart at least a bit from what he originally wanted.
No release date has been set for the Man of Steel sequel.
And that is always the one that everyone is commenting on. When is Man of Steel 2? Where is that Superman movie? Where's the solo Superman movie? Batman v Superman doesn't count. Because that's something that the studio and Zack Snyder kept saying was, well, it is more of a Superman film than you think. But now, having seen it, it's a fucking Batman film.
Movie. And, okay, Batman could be in the Superman movie for 2 minutes, and it would be a Batman film.
Oh, absolutely.
He would just steal the show. He would just... And then Superman would be like, And then he's got to think about him for the rest of the movie, even though we never see him.
Some might even argue that this is the Superman Wonder Woman film, because that's the two bits of it that everyone's like, yeah, you know what? I did like Batman and Wonder Woman, though. The two things I criticized the most before the movie came out. And I'm not saying me personally. I'm talking as the audience, because I still like Batman v Superman. You haven't seen the extended cut.
Mm-mm. I've only ever seen that movie once.
You've got to check it out. It's about as long as the OJ documentary, 7 hours long.
Oh my God. Okay, when I have a spare 7 hours, then yes, we will watch that.
Speaking of Wonder Woman, the latest trailer, they titled it the Origin Trailer, also known as, I think, trailer number 3, was released this week.
You will train her harder than any Amazon before her. 5 times harder. 10 times harder.
Never let your guard down. You expect the battle to be fair!
Until she is better than even you.
These trailers just get me more and more excited for this movie. I think they do a great job of piecing them together and making go, yeah, women power, fucking Wonder Woman.
This one gives us a very good look at the upbringing of Diana Prince, the training she has to go through, And also that origin of she is not 100% from the Amazon. She's not 100% Amazonian. And I think that's where they're going to eventually allude to Zeus being her dad. And if they show fucking Zeus, that'll be amazing. That'll be great.
Can he look like the one from the Disney Hercules movie? Just real cheesy.
I'm trying to remember a classic Zeus line from that movie, but I don't really recall one. Just, Hades! Like, he yells that as it's being encapsulated in the rocks and in the ice. He does grab, like, the thunderbolts, and he says, now watch what your old man can really do, and he throws it down at the Titans.
There was one time where he, like, slapped Hercules on the back, and he's like, my boy!
That's right.
But I don't remember any more than that.
So you think they should Roger Rabbit this thing?
Yeah.
And have an animated Zeus?
Because that would go with the movie. It'd be great. I don't think we'd ever see Zeus. He'd be in, like, a cloak or something.
I think it's tough to see any more of the Wonder Woman TV spots or trailers moving forward because we're going to get more and more clips from the movie that are probably going to work best if they're fresh on our mind or seen for the first time at the movie theater. These trailers, the 2 trailers, the 3, the 4, the TV spots, are at this point not made for people like us who are going to go see it, who already have, money set aside to go to the theaters and buy their ticket. These trailers are not going to sell us. I know some will argue that it hypes us up, but it's not like, well, I'm not really hyped for it anymore, so I'm not going to. It doesn't happen. Like, you decide, I'm going to go see Beauty and the Beast. I'm going to go see Wonder Woman. I'm going to see Justice League. The audience for these comic book movies are so devoted to the craft of, I need to see the next piece of the story, that you almost can get away with, like, a single trailer, and that's it. So, yeah, if you are going to keep seeing these, and I don't think I will, expect for portions of the movie to really start getting spoiled for you moving forward.
This is set to come out June 2nd, 2017. So very close, right around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it.
So that about wraps it up for the news portion of the week. Bit of a dry week as far as comic or superhero news, but some big stuff as far as Matthew Vaughn going on Man of Steel, the new Wonder Woman trailer. The bulk of this week's podcast, I think, will be the Kong Skull Island review. But first, we've got, before we jump into the Man-Thing review, our Patreon shoutouts of the week.
This week it goes out to John, whose Twitter handle is @John72Tex, and Eric, whose Twitter handle is @EAntonOfficial.
John recently picked up Jeff Lemire's Royal City. Beautiful looking comic. If you are reading Descender, do know that Jeff Lemire also does artwork. He's not just a writer. And on the other side, Eric, avid 49ers fan and the football fan. So if you do want to get the latest in sports, especially if you are from San Francisco or follow that team, you will definitely want to follow Eric on Twitter.
We want to thank both of you and all our Patreon supporters so much for your support. It really helps the show out, helps us get this product to you every single week. And if you're listening and you say, I want to be a Patreon supporter too, you can head over to patreon.com/TheReasonsImBroke for as little as $1 a month. That's 25 cents an episode, even less this month because you got a bonus episode.
That's right.
You too could be a Patreon supporter and get your shout out every month.
We also want to thank DecalAvenue.com for helping us out at the $5 decal tier. Yes, you can get decals if you become a Patreon backer. There are different levels at which you want to support the show. But if you think, you know what, I don't have anything to spare each month, but I do want to help out the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes. Leave us a review on Stitcher. Whatever you may use. iTunes is especially important, though, because that is where leaving a review suddenly bumps you up in the charts and helps new listeners, new Brokettes find the show. So it takes 2 minutes. Leave us a review when you can.
And of course, the best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know what you thought of the show. Participate in our hashtag games. And of course, tell other people about us as well.
You can also find us on Facebook. For a link of everywhere you can find us, head on over to TheReasonsImBroke.com. We've got links to Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Facebook, our Patreon page, and also we have a player right there on the site.
So thank you all once again. And with that, we can move into our comic book highlight of the week.
This week, we've got the number 1 of an all-new mini-series. It will be 5 issues in total. Man-Thing number 1.
This is written by R.L. Stein with art by German Peralta, and the colorist is Rochelle Rosenberg.
German Peralta is the artist on this one. Man-Thing number 1. R.L. fucking Stein, Mr. Goosebumps himself. Last seen in the Goosebumps movie.
Yes.
His on-screen appearance as Mr. Black, as Jack Black is greeting him.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some mixed reviews on Man-Thing number 1. how will a young adult's author translate over when it comes to a full-on comic book of a character that hasn't really held his own series in many, many years?
So I have never read any of the Goosebumps books. I don't know if this is his particular writing style, but I will say that I don't feel that it is for me.
Okay, Godzuki.
I'm trying to
I will
be
let
honest.
you know, this is very similar as far as he is not a horror writer. Like, he does some creepy things in the books, but at the end of the day, they're kids' books. Mm-hmm. So he throws in a lot of humor. And that's also how the Goosebumps movie was. Like, there are a lot of comedic portions to it, and so was the TV show. But those always ended dark. Like, it was never a happy ending to them, so it kind of brought you back to, I guess, the scare factor of it. And the way the Man-Thing #1 is constructed, the Man-Thing is an actor in Hollywood, and he's trying to make it, but then, spoilers, he doesn't keep his job because he's too disgusting, and he's making people throw up, and he feels sad, and he leaves. And then you get the rest, you get a retold origin and some action, which I'm not going to spoil for you. But throughout the whole thing, Man-Thing is talking to himself, and it's all sort of in a sarcastic or kind of like a tone of someone making fun of the genre or making fun of the fact that he is Man-Thing.
See, I read it, I perceived it as teen angst is the best way I can describe it. A lot of teen angst. A lot of, they don't like me because I'm this way, and this thing, why did this happen to me, and
I will say the artwork is great, and on top, I didn't mind the main story. Like, I kind of knew what I was getting into, and you hadn't read Goosebumps yet, so you weren't too sure, but I don't know if you read the backup story. In the back of every single issue, it looks like he's going to have like a mini, 4 to 5 page story of a horror story or an actual scary thing. So in the first one, it's about a magical ring that when you wear it, you become extremely successful, but the ring has to choose you. So in this case, she used to be a homeless woman. Someone dropped a ring into her cup and she wore it, and now she's a model and a millionaire, and she's beautiful, so she magically got beautiful as well. And all of that, someone is going after her ring, and I won't say what happens, but it is an actual terror story. So I think that's kind of cool. I think it's neat if all of these are as strong as the rest of them. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not enjoying the main story, there's like a bit of a bonus in seeing an R.L. Stine mini story that doesn't pull any punches and doesn't really tell any jokes. So to kind of sum it up, I guess if you're an R.L. Stine fan, you will definitely like it. But if you're looking for a serious Man-Thing story, if you are a diehard Man-Thing fan, you won't like this #1 issue.
I just don't understand why they couldn't make him handsome like Swamp Thing.
Because he's always looked like this. You can't change him. Swamp Thing, they haven't really changed.
They changed Lobo. He got handsome.
Yeah, and people hated it. They trashed it.
I think if you just gave him some abs, like cut down his ears and nose a little bit, made him look less mosquito-y.
He does look kind of mosquito-y, doesn't he?
He does. You could make him handsome.
Well, Man-Thing does have that weird nose thing that goes down into like his chin, but then he has the regular lips.
Swamp Thing?
I'm sorry, Swamp Thing, yeah.
Yeah, he's got regular lips and like abs.
And human eyes.
That's all you need. And he's kind of handsome. I mean, have you seen? And he could like change the way he looks because he controls all the things.
Can grow giant, majestic wings.
Yeah, that's handsome too.
Carry you off into the sky.
Swamp Thing is not handsome. They should have thought about their women readers when they created this.
R.L. Stine, you're not the audience with this. R.L. Stine is not drawing in 20-something-year-old women into his comic.
Come on, he needs to find a love interest. Maybe there's a woman thing. I don't know.
What would you call her? She-Thing? To kind of go with She-Hulk?
I guess. She-Thing. I don't know. Sounds barbaric.
Woman-Thing?
Woman, yeah. Lady-Thing.
Lady-Thing would be good. Just like, I think there's Lady Deadpool or Miss Deadpool. You can do Miss Thing. Miss Thing.
Hey, Miss Thing.
So there's your comic book highlight for the week, Brokettes. Onward is the full spoiler review of Kong Skull Island. If you haven't seen the movie yet, this is where we depart for the week.
So yes, thank you so much for tuning in. If this is where you're checking out, go and see Skull Island. Come back and listen to our review later in the week if you are choosing to see that movie. And if not, then we will see you next week.
Otherwise, if you're still with us, here we have it, Kong Skull Island.
An uncharted island Let me list all the ways you're gonna die. Rain, heat, disease-carrying flies, and we haven't started on the things that want to eat you alive.
We'll double that.
Plus a bonus if we make it back. If?
Was there, can I do like some jungle music? Like, doo 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 doo.
That's not even... I was a little disappointed when... Okay, we'll talk about Kong a little bit. He did not sound like that at all.
No, he didn't.
I wanted just a giant gorilla-sounding Kong. We did not get it. So...
Well, have you ever heard a gorilla? Like, really heard a gorilla? How do you know they sound like that?
Cartoons.
Okay. All right. Sorry I asked.
We've got sort of a revamped format to the movie reviews broquettes. It's a lot more structured. We want to make sure that we hit certain points with every movie review that we do so that it is consistent. So it's not, different lengths and different points that we touch on. I know every movie is a different genre and we are going to review it differently. But in this case, we're adding a couple of things. So we're going to talk about this is the first revamp review, by the way. We're going to cover the directing and who the stars are as far as like every movie. We're going to list the director and what they worked on and some of the stars and what they worked on. But for the most part, we're going to cover the story, the acting, and the special effects, which you mainly came up with.
Yeah, I did because I'm brilliant.
Those are the main categories. And then based on the story, the acting, and the special effects, we will start giving these movies a certain rating. And it will be out of 5.
Out of 5 something.
Out of 5 something, exactly. And it's going to be themed to what the movie is. And if it's successful, if you guys like it, maybe we'll expand it to video games. And if you want to see like a full video game review.
We ain't got no time to play video games. Calm down.
That's the other thing. Like if you guys want a video game review, you will see my Mass Effect Andromeda review in about 2 years when I've actually finished it.
If you guys want a video game review, you're going to have to pay my salary for the week so I can actually stay home and play these things.
If you want Kelli to review Pokemon Sun and Moon, our kid will be entering about 2nd grade, I would say.
I only have to beat the Elite Four. Calm down. I'm real close.
And you have to get to Red and you have to get to Blue.
Where are they? That's what?
They're in like one tower, a battle tower that I haven't even gone to yet because I haven't touched that game since I've beaten the Elite Four. We've been playing the Telltale Batman.
Yeah, and watching The Nanny.
And watching, we're going down a rabbit hole here. People are like, what about Kong? We're about to wrap this up and not even talk about the review.
And that's it for the show.
So first off, Kong Skull Island, directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, who worked on the television series Single Dads and did a TV movie called Mashup, which also spun off into a television show.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, given how much they fucking spent on this movie,
They had to save money somewhere.
I guess so, but now you're seeing a lot of these huge budget movies with smaller directors, like lesser known directors, and maybe it's to save money or maybe it's to get like a creative vision on these films. I'm not sure, but there's going to be, pros and cons to either way you do it.
So this movie stars Tom Hiddleston, who was in The Avengers, Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction and also The Avengers, and Brie Larson from 21 Jump Street and 2019's Captain Marvel. 2019's Captain Marvel.
Who will eventually be in an Avengers film as well. Okay,
yes. Lots of Avenger things.
A couple of stats here before we dive into the review. As of March 14th, Kong Skull Island has grossed a worldwide earning of $157.9 million against its production budget of $185 million, with an additional $136 million in marketing.
Why do you need to spend $136 million in marketing? Why do you gotta market that movie?
Why do you have to market that movie? Because you spent a shit ton producing it, so you want to make sure that it gets in front of as many eyeballs as possible.
Okay, but now you have to make like $1 trillion to make money.
Correct. Now, here's the thing. We learned this in film class when we were talking about the production budgets, and when it gets into big-time Hollywood, unless it's a complete flop, most studios expect a loss at the box office because they'll make it up in Blu-ray releases on home video, through streaming deals,
toy sales,
further marketing if anyone else wants to market through Kong, and also HBO is a big one, a big earner for the movie studios.
I guess places like McDonald's get in their toys and stuff too.
Exactly. So if the movie breaks even, it is considered a success. Like they're like, oh, fucking awesome, because everything after that is just gold and green and pure profit. But in this case, so far, we had $157.9 million.
So you covered your marketing.
A little over its marketing. Now it's got to cover its budgeting. And it's only the a week and a half so far that we've gotten. So this is as of March 14th. I think it'll be okay, but they spent way too fucking much on the talent, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like, holy shit. Having Tom Hiddleston, who you mentioned like is the heartthrob, but they could have put anyone in that role, like any decent looking actor.
They could have just left Kong. He was pretty handsome. You see his buns?
You see a fucking shot of his ass, absolutely, in the movie. So let's dive into the review. Story, acting, and special effects, kicking it off with the story of Kong Skull Island.
The story was what I expected from a King Kong movie.
Or a Godzilla movie.
Or a
movie. Insert monster here movie.
I felt there was more heart in the Godzilla movie, though.
See, I felt the opposite.
Really?
There was more heart in the Kong movie.
No, I didn't feel like there was a lot of heart. I didn't really connect with any of the characters. They open up by trying to make you feel bad for the humans. I didn't care. It was their own damn fault.
Basic premise, they're going down to this uncharted piece of land that they want to discover minerals or fuel or whatever. They're using any excuse for them to go into the island.
What's his name says.
John Goodman.
John Goodman.
Which John Goodman is in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And Sam Jackson and Tom Hiddleston. This movie's expensive as fuck. Not even talking about the special effects yet. But yes, he wants to go there because no one believes him about giant monsters. So he's using other excuses to convince the senator to give him budgeting to go into this island. And once they do get there, this differs from the classic Kong story in which, yeah, you still get the natives, but they're not necessarily they're not like as savage as you have seen them in the past. They're a lot more peaceful because they do worship Kong and Kong protects them. So it's them trying to make Kong even more sympathetic than the other movies. And on top of that, there are now skull crawlers is what they call them. There's these other creatures, other giant monsters that also live on the island that Kong is protecting these people from. And the reason he protects them is because I'm assuming in the past they helped him. And these same monsters also killed Kong's parents. So there's like a mutual enemy between these two groups. So Kong's species and then the humans, the people the tribe that lives on that island. And our main characters get stranded on the fucking island after they throw down explosives to supposedly measure if the island is hollow or not, but it's really to drive out Kong so that they can get evidence that there are these giant monsters that exist in the world. The Earth does not belong to humans; it belongs to these giant monsters.
Blow it the fuck up.
And then John Goodman wants to take that evidence and bring it back to the U.S. so that they can, he can become famous and they can actually study these things and they can actually fight against these monsters should they choose to. And that's his thing. He's like, yeah, we need to kill these monsters before they take back their Earth. Because in his mind, they eventually will. And I guess we might, based on how this ended. But this Kong story is not the one that you will see in which he goes back, gets captured, gets taken to New York, and he jumps on the Empire State Building. All of it takes place in the island. Now, there are some elements there from the classic story, like Brie, I don't know her name. What's
Brie Larson? Oh, in the movie? I don't even remember her name.
I'm just going to say Jane. Or wasn't it Tarzan and Jane?
Okay,
I'm going to say Jane.
Tarzan and Jane. That's
so
fine.
Jane, you see that like subtle romance, I guess, that Kong feels for Jane. But it's not as strong as, Peter Jackson's Kong.
I didn't even, and I never saw Peter Jackson's Kong, but I didn't even view it as romance between them. I viewed it as, because his family's dead. He doesn't really have anybody who cares for him.
True.
And the moment we're talking about is a moment where she comes up and she touches his nose. And Kong looks at her like lots of facial expressions. And they have a moment. And so I saw it more of as Kong was like, oh, this thing cares for me. It's been a while since somebody, touched me without trying to kill me, essentially. And so that's why he saves her later, too, is because she cared for him. So...
Yeah, I guess you're right. Thinking back on it, it's not as romantic as the other ones, but they don't spend as much time either. Like, it's more of him feeling compassion for her. And I think the moment in which he was really tuned in to the fact that maybe these people aren't just here to blow up the island is when she's trying to lift up the helicopter, which was a fucking silly moment. When she's trying to lift up by herself the helicopter from the buffalo thing. That
water buffalo, yeah.
Kong's like, okay, you're here to help the animals that I also watch over. So, all right, we're cool. I think we're all right. So that's when he walks off and he looks back at Jane and, he's okay with it. And Jane, like, credit to Bree, she kind of has these tears that swell up on her. And I'm like, oh, that was a nice little touch. But there's a lot of those silly moments in this. One of the things with the plot throughout it, there are random moments and they're not at all consistent. where, suddenly there's monsters everywhere and they're all going to eat the humans. But now we're in this marsh where there's absolutely nothing that will eat them. They're walking through a swamp, waist high in water.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here like, okay, this is the next setup to someone else dying. No, they get through it, and a bird comes by, and they fly by, they see the birds that are kind of pterodactyl looking things. And, these will come back later to kill one of the characters. And I'm like, why the fuck? It's a waste of a scene. It should be like, this island's not as dangerous as they make it out to be.
Where the villain comes in all of this, though. So in the beginning, like we said, they're dropping the bombs everywhere, drawing Kong out. Kong comes up and he's fucking pissed. He's like, dropping bombs, and destroys all their helicopters. Yes. Just smashing them into each other, being all badass. There were 11 helicopters. He destroyed a lot of them. And so then the military guy who was leading the helicopter troop, he's all like, now we have to destroy Kong. It's Samuel L. Jackson. Now we got to destroy Kong because he destroyed my men.
Yeah, he kept calling him every time. I don't know. I'm immature, so they killed my men. I'm like, I always thought gay. I don't know why. It didn't make it better or worse. I was just like, okay, maybe they're gay.
They're gay.
They're all gay.
That's his boys.
But yeah, he's the, I guess, antagonist of the film, along with John Goodman, which John Goodman, as we've seen before, plays a very good bad guy. But this is more like a scientist bad guy, I guess, in the film. And Sam Jackson is like the military bad guy. And yeah, the whole thing is, as we lead into the end of the movie, he's on this mission to supposedly save one of the survivors that is stranded on a different part of the island. And yes, that's the case. He doesn't want to save him, but he also wants to go there because there are supplies there that canisters of not gasoline,
petrol or something,
something similar. I know there's a word for it, and they use it in Vietnam a lot. But they want to get there. He wants to get there and get the weapons and gather them all up to kill Kong, because as soon as Kong destroyed those airplanes and killed a bunch of his men, then he decided, this is my life mission now, my life goal. And it establishes early on that he does not want to get home. He does not want the war to end. This has given him purpose. And Kong is now his new purpose. He will die trying to kill Kong. So his mission is to go there, grab the weapons, and kill the giant monster in spite of, the rest of the guys and what they think. We get near the end of the film. They trap Kong, they light him up on fire, and that's when the skull crawlers, the giant skull crawler that Kong did not want to awaken, that the natives were warning him about, comes out, and there's a giant fight between the giant skull crawler and Kong, and the humans are helping out King Kong, and eventually, the remaining survivors make it out of there. That is essentially the plot of this, and as you mentioned, a monster story.
Yes, exactly. Some places where I found it lacking. So we talked about how Sam Jackson was all about the war and the war was his life. We never really get a background to that. And that's what I felt that this movie was missing, at least for me, is they didn't make me care about any of the characters. We find that Tom Hiddleston hasn't gone back home because he's still looking for something. But, what's he looking for? What did he do in the war? He's a tracker, but he doesn't look like a tracker.
I'm a badass tracker.
And then,
you're not.
And then Jane is an anti-war photographer who's here to take pictures because she wants to. But, what's her real motivation? Why is she here? The only one that I really cared about was the guy who just wanted to go home and see his son.
John C. Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the movie, they established World War II. John C. Reilly and the Japanese military guy, they're both pilots, actually. They land on the island, and they're trying to kill themselves as soon as they land because the war is still going. And they're interrupted by the first appearance and the first vision of Kong. They show you Kong within 5 minutes of the film, and then full on within 15 minutes of this fucking bitch. You see Kong, all the complaints about Godzilla, well, you don't really see him enough. They're like, okay, you're going to see a shit ton of Kong. You're going to see him in daylight. You're going to see him at night. You're going to see him fight giant monsters. But yeah, you're absolutely right. John C. Reilly's character was the most grounded and the one that we ended up caring the most about. And that's interesting because I'm normally not drawn into John C. Reilly's characters or his movies, but this one I'm like, fuck yes. He is amazing. He's the best part of this movie. And because of that, he's going to die. And that's exactly what we thought was going to happen. Did not happen.
Did not happen. But I was talking about the other guy, too, who his wife had just had a baby, remember? And he was writing the letter to him.
Oh, fucking whoever, Dear Billy guy?
Yeah.
Fuck that guy,
Dear
too.
Billy. Ah. So his wife had just had a baby, and he was 1 day away from going home, but then they got this other mission. So he's like, I gotta go there. And he's writing this letter to his son, sorry, I can't make it to your birthday. Fucking dies. That was very convenient how they found out he died, by the way. He got eaten by a skull crawler, and then the same skull crawler burps up his skull with his dog tag still attached.
In front of the rest of the characters,
Yes.
like, I don't know that the characters are here, but I'm going to go ahead and throw up this skull that I normally would probably shit out, but I'm going to throw it up right here, and then I'm going to walk off. So then it's all clean, and the dog tag is perfectly on the skull, so they can see, like, no, he's dead. He died. We don't have to go back there. Just as a plot point for them to tell Sam Jackson, that guy's dead. We don't need to go there. And for Sam to be like,
We're going
that's irrelevant.
anyway.
This doesn't change a thing. And yeah, that was dumb. Like, there's a lot of very stupid moments here. But that's not why we paid to see the movie.
No.
We did not pay to watch the fascinating human interaction. Goodman was a bonus. Sam Jackson is a bonus. And John C. Reilly became a bonus throughout the film. But we came to see monsters fight. We came to see Kong, and we got that. He fights a giant squid. He fights helicopters, so he fights the humans. And then he fights the giant Marowaks, the giant keybones, the skull
crawlers.
And that is a hell of a fight as well.
Oh.
I mean, that is probably on par with what we got in the Godzilla film. Granted, Godzilla, like, fucking fire breath down someone's body. But fucking Kong.
Skong.
I was thinking of the skull crawlers, too. He fucking takes the intestines and rips them out from the inside.
Well,
he fucking turns that skull crawler inside out.
Not only that, but he had the girl in his hand the whole time.
Yes.
Like he was protecting her, and it's eating his arm, and he just rips his arm out and pulls out his tongue and his throat and
intestines and shit. And I'm like, man, that is like that's that moment, like from Godzilla, where he rips that thing's jaw open, and there's a throwback to that too. In Kong, you know how in the older movies and the original and in Peter Jackson's, the T-Rex like jaw like gets ripped open. And that's how he kills a couple of the dinosaurs. He tries to do that to the skull crawlers. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do that thing, and then like the skull crawler gets away. So it's like, oh, that's your little nod to that. Like, these are bigger than T-Rexes. These are skull crawlers. They're stronger. So
See, I was thinking of Batman breaking that alligator's mouth.
yeah, in the animated series,
Yeah.
he kills in that.
Yeah, he
oh
does.
shit, man.
Kills animals.
That's true. He just kills animals.
All right.
So still kind of an asshole thing to do. But yeah, this Kong, they do establish, by the way, in the story that this Kong is still growing. So anyone that points out, well, he's not quite as big as Godzilla in this, and that's true, but they say, okay, he's still growing. This is the 70s. By the time we get to the timeline of Godzilla, this motherfucker should be as big as Godzilla. He's faster. I'm not sure who's stronger. Godzilla has the fire breath. Kong is, again, quicker. He can use tools. That was fucking neat because in previous Kong movies, you don't really see him create things. And this, he's learning. He's like, okay, this is sharp. Boom, I'm going to tie this bitch to my wrist, and I'm going to use the chain and fucking whip that skull crawler. That was amazing. I think that was the best part of the fight to me.
You know where I think he learned that from, though? Remember when he got hit by the helicopter in the beginning?
Yes.
With the helicopter blade?
Right.
And then he went and saw the boat blade, and he's like, oh, I bet this is the same shit.
Yeah, that's true. And then the trees thing, like he stripped it. Like that's something that he must have fought other skull crawlers with. And yeah, he stripped the goddamn tree and he uses it as a fucking giant wooden bat. That was incredible. I love that shit. I thought that was a really good idea on the, I don't know, filmmakers or story, whoever came up with that. Brilliant.
So overall, for me, the story was exactly what you would expect it. It had its highs and lows. It kept me entertained the whole time. It was an hour and 40 minutes for the whole movie. Didn't really feel it. I thought it was paced very well to get me through the story, but it's what you expect from a King Kong movie.
Onto the acting. We touched a little bit on John Goodman. He was amazing. I love John Goodman. Always a pleasure to see on screen and everything he works on. Sam Jackson played an amazing crazy person.
Yeah?
Like, anytime the camera held on his face as he's staring down Kong with that giant eye on him.
I got very uncomfortable.
Exactly. I'm like, oh my God, this is a fucking insane man. He's a maniac. That was great. Sam Jackson, of course, always does a great job in everything he's in. Tom Hiddleston and Brie, I don't know. Like, they were
themselves. Well,
the weakest part
Brie
of this.
did good with her crying face.
Sure, yeah.
And Tom Hiddleston was Tom Hiddleston.
Again, they could have replaced him with anyone.
Anyone, exactly. Some that were lacking. There were some of the military guys that they tried to make you care for that you didn't really. I did like that one guy who blew himself up.
Yes.
He was cool. You had the two scientists, which I'm sure they put in there because we're going to see them further in the Godzilla movies, as
exactly,
as alluded to. Yeah, they weren't the best. Who was it? John C. Reilly? Is that his name? He was great.
He was incredible. Right underneath John Goodman I don't even know. He might be, he was the best part of this.
Yeah,
like he did the best job. John C. Reilly.
Like I cared about him in the very beginning. I was like, oh shit, what happened to him? And then we find out what happened to him, and he's just like this loony guy now, but he's so much fun, and he just wants to get home, and he just cares about his Chicago Cubs, and
been stuck on the island for what, 40 years?
Yeah, he just 30-something, 40 years.
And he had made friends with the natives and still knew English, I guess. He must have just talked to himself, or I'm not sure, but he gave them a rundown on King Kong and why, he matters so much to these people, these natives. And at the very end, he got to see the Cubbies play again. And I'm like, as a White Sox fan, I'm like, you know what? This is cool. Let him watch the Cubbies. Like, and Wrigley Field is beautiful.
He got his hot dog and his beer.
Exactly. Like, and that isn't during the credits, and you teared up. You cried.
I did. So, he spends all these years, on this island, of course. He got lost. He talks to these people when they find him about how he had gotten married right before he went off to war. And he was talking, I don't even know if she's still alive. She sent me a letter that we had a son right before, I got lost. And all I want to do is see them again. That's all I want is a chance to meet my son. And I thought that was immediate. Oh, he's going to die.
Yep.
He's going to be dead because this is what he wants. But no, we get to see it in the credits. He shaves and puts on his uniform, looks all nice, goes and sees her. She's crying. The son's crying. Don't know if she's married, but whatever. He's living there now.
You're crying.
I was crying. It was so sweet, though, because she thought he was dead. She spent all these years coming to terms with my husband, this man that I loved, enough to share the rest of my life with, is gone. And then he walks through the door 40 years later.
And they do it Wonder Years style. Like the opening of Wonder Years, it's just like a film reel type of thing,
all
like
grainy,
home movies and no sound. It was done really, really well. It was excellent. So yeah, John C. Reilly, best part of it. If you're a huge John C. Reilly fan, boom, there you go. My favorite thing so far, my favorite performance, which isn't saying too much, but now the special effects.
No, Kong was my favorite performance.
He
was handsome for a giant gorilla.
All that money as well on the special effects, and they paid off for the most part.
Yeah.
Kong looked incredible. The designer to Kong said he didn't want to get too fancy with the design because, in his words, he wanted it to be something that kids could draw. And that was like his like, not a barometer, but his measure to how the design should be. Skullcrawlers, they went a little crazy on, of course, because these are the bad guys. They've got skulls on the outside of their head, but it also fuses with the inside of it. They're kind of neat looking, but they're monsters. They're evil. They're meant to like not look sympathetic. And Kong, with those special effects, you can read his expressions. I don't think it was even what's his face from the Lord of the Rings movies who always did Gollum. It wasn't even him. Like in I believe the original Kong, it might have been. I don't know why I want to say Andy Serkis. I don't think it is.
That sounds familiar.
Is that correct?
I think so.
You might be right. But it was enough to where it's like, okay, this animated Kong there's more to him. Like there's a human sort of side to him. He's intelligent, he's sympathetic. And to me, because of that, because of the way they animated the character, I'm now rooting for Kong in that eventual Godzilla vs. Kong movie.
You take those words back in your mouth.
That's the side I'm picking.
We are a house divided. But yes, I agree. I like that you could see him looking at things and working things out for himself and learning, and you could tell that he enjoys where he lives. That's his island. That's where he rules. And of course, fighting these things, you can see when he's angry. And I was a little nervous because we went on the Universal ride, and at the end you see a Kong face, and he's just like moving all over the place, like ooh,
like 17 expressions in 5 seconds.
Yes, exactly. So I was worried they would do the same thing. They didn't. Like you said, he was animated great. You could see all the scars on his body.
Yes.
Like it told an amazing story. He sits there and he looks at his hands and his arm that are all like fucked up because of the evil humans.
The dried blood on his fur.
Yep.
Yeah, all of that.
He like eats a squid because he's hungry.
Yeah, that's even animated really well. I know we're not huge fans of CGI. With Kong, it's either animatronics or you're going to do CGI. And in this case, they did it very well. There are a couple of moments in which you get the far shot of Kong just strolling around that are like, okay, that looks a little weird and a little silly. Like, maybe that's a little too much Kong that they're showing us. His fucking ass. Like, that's not a negative, but you see his fucking ass. Because we had to, I guess.
He was just walking past, and I mean...
The camera holds on his ass.
He works out. What can we say? They wanted you to know they animated everything well.
Pretty much everything, yeah. Absolutely. So the budget was there for the animation. They did not hold back on it.
And the scenery looked great. I thought the weird ass bugs and stuff, the creatures that they had
the little
there,
wooden one especially.
Yeah, that one was really cool. There's the wooden bug. There was that giant bamboo spider. Oh, I hated that thing. It was terrifying. You had the little pterodactyl bird things that killed some asshole that we hated.
Yeah, all of it is fucking solid. I mean, you're here for a special effect movie and it delivers. So there you go, story, acting, and special effects. Kelli and I's thought on all of that. What are we going to rate this out of 5 bananas? In this case, 5 bananas. And why are we giving it this rating? You want to start or should I?
You can go ahead. I got to think about what I would rate it.
I want to make this clear. I'm going to rate this... I mean, all these I'm going to rate, I guess, as just as a movie. Because if I rate it as a monster movie, it's going to be, a higher rating than it should be. So all of these ratings, at least when I give it to them, are like, okay, when I'm comparing this to, The Fountain or City or whatever, that's going to be the rating that it falls on. So in this case, overall, I'm going to go 3 bananas out of 5.
Okay. So I think I'm going to rate these movies a little differently than you will, because I will rate it based upon what I believe the movie was meant to be.
Sure.
And so I'm going to go with 4 bananas. Because it is exactly what I expected out of a King Kong movie. It just didn't draw me into the characters like I feel that other monster movies have drawn me in.
No, I agree. It's a very good monster movie. We got our money's worth. Very happy with what I got in the end.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about the end?
Yes, we got to talk about the end credits, and you're going to boast about this.
I will boast about this forever.
Stay after the credits. Why? What happens, Kelli?
Well, let me just say this. You can never say that I do not call everything ever again. I call everything that there has ever been in life. Everything. All of it.
Can you spoil the post-Justice League scenes yet?
Not yet, but I will. Just calm down.
Wonder Woman, can you spoil the post-Wonder Woman scene?
There's not going to be one.
Oh, bullshit.
Okay, calm down.
There's going to be a post-credit scene in Wonder Woman.
Calm down. Calm down. And if there's not, then I called it. Ooh, now what? Boom. So you have to sit through the whole credits. You get to the very end, and you see Tom Hiddleston and Jane sitting in a room going, "Why are we here? We're not going to tell anybody about the islands. I'm going to tell the Russians about the islands. Why are we here? You've kept us here for days."
It's like one of those interrogation rooms with like the windows that you can't see through,
the mirrors,
but they can see you.
The two-sided mirrors. Yeah. And then the scientists that you didn't care about the whole time walk in, and they're like, "This is just the beginning."
I'm like, wait, so you guys are the assholes now? Like, that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, hold on a second.
They just got major promotions.
Why would they keep them here for days? And they're like, yeah, keep them here. Fuck them. Like, it'll be funny when we come out. Like, that part didn't make sense. It was a very sloppy, setup to the end credits.
Yes, but you find out they're working for Monarch. Monarch is some Godzilla thing.
Basically, the search for giant monsters in the world. Like, that's what they're like, this is what we really are. And they show them slides of cave drawings that they're like, Kong isn't the only god among people. And there's other cave drawings, which they all look similar. And I'm like, okay, I know it's because it's made by the same designer at the studio, but try to make them look a little different,
right. Get with designers and different ethnicities and make something different, yeah.
But no, they all look the same, and they all render the monsters extremely well for cave drawings. That's one thing. I'm like, look at Rodan. You know what?
It looked like they put up a stencil and then spray painted over it.
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me.
These are great fucking artists. But holy shit.
I thought that was really cool, the way they did the cave drawings for Kong with the Aborigines or whatever they were.
Yeah, and there's a perspective thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
As the camera moves, it completes the picture.
So you're going through the story. Anyway, regardless, so you see a big butterfly on a wall. It's Mothra. And you see a bird thing, pterodactyl. It's Rodan. And then you see a Godzilla thing. It's Godzilla. And then you see this 3-headed motherfucking awesome blah thing.
Your favorite monster?
Monster Zero. King
Monster
Ghidorah.
fucking Zero.
So cool. He's so cool he has 2 names. He's Monster Zero and King Ghidorah.
By the way, I always call him Monster Zero because I like to see the Godzilla fans that forgot that his name is Monster Zero go give me that expression I don't know who that is, but I'm not going to ask who that is. I'm going to wait till he gives me more information so I can be like, oh, yeah, the 3 head, yeah, King Ghidorah, yeah.
yeah. Didn't he start out with 1 head and then Godzilla ripped it off and he grew 3 more?
I think he always had 3, but there is one movie and he ripped one off, and in the sequel he has a mecha head.
Cool. Oh, man. Okay, so then the very last slide they show, and they're talking this whole time, there's other beings in this world. It's not our world. We gotta take them out before they take us out. Blah, 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 blah. And then you see the very last slide, and it's this awesome cave drawing of Godzilla shooting flames and Monster Zero shooting lightning, and you're like, oh, shit! And then what is the last thing we hear? What is the last thing we hear in this whole movie?
As you called it... It is...
It's the motherfucking Godzilla noise. And what did I say like 3 podcasts ago, 2 whatever, when we were talking about this? What did I say? What were my words?
You said the last fucking thing you're gonna hear in the post-credit scene is gonna be the Godzilla roar.
I just said the last thing of the movie that we're gonna hear is the Godzilla roar. And you said, no, Kelli, this is a King Kong movie. They'll tie it in some other way. No. I'm right. Forever for all things. I can be wrong about everything forever now, and I will still be right about everything.
Because all you have to do is Godzilla roar.
Godzilla roar. Godzilla King Kong.
That's all you gotta say.
So, yes, great ending. It totally hyped me up. I left there like, yeah, Godzilla!
Like, it's cheesy, it's messy, but it doesn't matter. It gave us the information we wanted. Fucking Mothra, we already knew, right? Mm-hmm. Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla, and fucking Monster Zero. We're gonna get all of them. But more importantly... What I took out of it, I'm like, holy shit, so these designs are going to be way more traditional than I expected. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, Godzilla was, I guess, a little fatter, but it's still, for the most part,
She's
a Godzilla
probably pregnant.
Monster.
Calm down.
It's still a lot of the elements are there from the original Godzilla design. And it's not like the Zilla Matthew Broderick one where they went, well, let's try to make it more dinosaur looking. No, they went, let's just modernize him a bit. And that's what they're doing with King Ghidorah, which I was also like, okay, well, how are they going to change him? Because I don't know. But no, you see 3 fucking heads, the wings, no arms, and the fucking feet. The giant fucking thighs.
Does he have little arms?
I don't remember him ever having little arms. No. Look him up, and I'm pretty sure he does not have little arms. He has 0 arms. Mothra...
Is that why he's Monster Zero? Monster Zero arms? Is that what they told him in like middle school? They called him Monster Zero arms. Aww.
Mothra looks exactly like it should. Rodan probably was the most changed. Like, I know there are like pterodactyl features to it, but it looked more bat-like in its design, but it still has like that classic Rodan head and the giant wings. So that was really neat.
Google's just pulling up like Monster the Drink a Zero.
you got to type in King Ghidorah.
I'm working on it.
For Google. I mean, I'm fucking excited to see Mothra, my favorite of all those monsters that they've at least shown so far. King Ghidorah, who is the villain of the monsters, basically. I mean, there's others like Destroya, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be an awesome epic battle between Godzilla, King Ghidorah, and hopefully Rodan and Mothra end up helping out Godzilla. I hope they're not just the early battles against the monster and that they're villains too. I don't want that. I want to see a monster team up before we get our 2020 King Kong versus Godzilla. I wouldn't even mind if King Kong made some kind of cameo in 2019's Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
So you're right, he doesn't have little arms. I was thinking of his 2 tails, because when they're behind him, they look like little arms.
Those I don't think we saw in the... I didn't pay attention to that part. I'm sure he'll have the little tails as well.
Fun fact, I don't know if this is true, but on a Dragon Ball wiki... They show Krillin fighting something and King Ghidorah in the background, just chilling.
That's pretty cool.
In the audience.
That's probably a reference to it.
Probably. So, when it comes down to Godzilla versus Kong, who are you rooting for?
Kong.
I'm rooting for Godzilla.
I'm going for Kong.
I'm going for Godzilla. Because, see, Godzilla, he died. And then he rose like Jesus 3 days later.
He passed out. He fucking passed out.
She died. She wasn't breathing. And rose like Jesus 3 days later.
Is it a she? I think they call him he. I think it doesn't matter.
I think it's both. It's like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. She just chooses what she wants to be. Okay. Rose 3 days later and still saved humanity, even though the humans were assholes to her. Him. Whoever.
I'm going for King Kong because, again, it's such a relatable monster. Like, yeah, I like Godzilla too, but I'm rooting for King Kong. That's what it comes down to.
Hashtag house divided.
So
hashtag
overall,
Zilla versus Kong.
Kong Skull Island, 4 bananas, 3 bananas from me. That's your review, Brokettes, from the new format.
Let us know what you thought of this format. If you would like us to add another category, if you want us to elaborate or condense anything, hit us up on Twitter @ReasonsImBroke. We are always open to hearing your guys' ideas.
So that will also wrap it up for the podcast today. Thank you so much. The new listeners, if you joined us from Alterna Comics or you just discovered the podcast and decided to give this episode a listen, thank you so much for giving us a shot. And hopefully there was something in the show that you took away, whether, we entertained you for a bit, made you laugh, or you learned something. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in for the episode this week.
Once again, you can find everywhere you can listen to us. You can find our newly redone shop. Everything you need to know about us on TheReasonsImBroke.com. T-shirts. Awesome t-shirts.
Full merchandise
shop. Can you
shop.
make me like a Godzilla t-shirt?
Yeah, I'm sure that's okay. Like, no copyright.
No copyright. No.
Has to be a parody.
But thank you guys so much once again. I'm Kelli.
I'm Daniel.
And we'll see you on the next one.